Hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brandon, also known as Branmatt, and I'm here to cast for you a game, series of games actually, for a show match. It was a best-of-5 show match between CombatEX and iNcontroL, and so I'm here to cast for you those games. There is a total of 4 games that were played in this best-of-5 series. I was only able to get a hold of 3 games. If the 4th game is ever released, though, I will be sure to cast that to you. But nonetheless, let's get into introducing our players. Up here in the top right-hand corner of Shakuris Plateau, spawning as our red Protoss player, is CombatEX, who is, of course, throwing down his typical pylon timing. Down in the bottom left-hand corner as our blue Protoss player from Team EGiNcontroL is iNcontroL. So what some people might not know is that there has been a certain rivalry between these two players, and CombatEX has called out iNcontroL on a best-of-5 show match. And these are what these games are going to be. The games I'm casting for you are the best-of-5 show match games. So we'll have to see how that all turns out. Again, there was 4 games played in the best-of-5 series, but only 3 replays have been released of the 4 games. If 4th replay comes out, I'd be glad to cast it for you guys. But nonetheless, here we have the typical timings for gateways being thrown down. Both players at the moment seem to be doing same timings. Up here we can see CombatEX going for a little earlier of a gas than his opponent iNcontroL will be doing. Both sitting at probably about the same units. That's the wrong tab there, guys. The same workers, everything like this. They're both sitting on 2 gas, so it looks like they're both at this point going to be copying each other. And iNcontroL and CombatEX are both going to send out their scouts. iNcontroL will spot the bottom right-hand corner first, and notice that there is no CombatEX there. CombatEX will spot the top left-hand corner first, and notice that there is no iNcontroL there, so they obviously know, or they're obviously heading out to where they think their opponents will be. This is cross-map positions, and CombatEX just now throwing down his cybernetics core, and a cybernetics core and a second cybernetics core. That's kind of strange here. It's probably a mistake, unless if he's trying to go for very early air weapons and defense upgrades. There you go. There's the cancel. I was going to say, that's not typical to see 2 cyber cores, especially this early in the game. Second gateway going down now for iNcontroL, and up here in CombatEX's base we see 1 gateway, and right here iNcontroL being able to get that scout looking around. First sentry being pushed out here. No chrono boost on the cybernetics core, rather it will be on the gateway. Start getting out that first sentry for defenses and defensive purposes. And pylon spread out down to here. Kind of an odd place. It's a good idea to spread out these things though, so he can scout if any behind the scenes things are going on. Maybe warp prisms in a Protoss versus Protoss scenario. We have the 2 gateways right now for iNcontroL. CombatEX is throwing down his second gateway just now as well. Again, has that sentry now for the defense at the very front of the base. And down here we see a Stargate going down. So this isn't exactly a proxy Stargate where he puts it down here in the 3rd base location or anything like that too terribly close to iNcontroL. But this will be in a location where it is safely tucked into CombatEX's base, but he will be able to have it hidden. Anything poking up the ramp obviously will not be able to see that Stargate there, but once he starts, he might be able to, start pumping out units out of there and then be able to surprise that. He might be able to surprise with Phoenixes or Void Rays, other things like this. At the moment we can see that iNcontroL has these 2 stalkers at the front. Force field was thrown down. Will he throw down another? He just wants to make sure that iNcontroL is not pulling up into his base. CombatEX is continuing to throw down force fields here. This was an interesting tactic done by iNcontroL. He pulls up into the base and then pulls back immediately in an attempt to waste the energy on the sentries to get that force field thrown down. When that force field is thrown down, energy is wasted. That way he'll be able to return again with another force. Eventually there won't be enough energy for another force field, as we can see there is. iNcontroL throwing down a pylon in the front here. He does already have a pylon down in the back, so we will be seeing is a 2-gate warp gate push by a bunch of stalkers here. Again, he does have this pylon located over here. CombatEX is just going to warp in zealots at the front for tanking, and then have these sentries in the back here who do have enough energy for a force field to be able to defend his base. Over here, if we look, he already does have one Phoenix out at the moment, CombatEX, and he is producing more and chrono boosting them out of that Stargate. Over in iNcontrol's base, though, we can see that he does have the Twilight Council with Blink available, as well as a robotics facility. If he does opt to get an observer out of the robotics facility, which would be a wise idea, he would be able to not only scout, but be able to get up into a position such as here, not have to worry about force fields, and be able to blink up into CombatEX's base. But that force field was thrown down too high up, didn't know that iNcontrol had Blink, and he's now able to go down here, possibly get this warp gate down. The Phoenix are dealing some damage and lifting up Stalkers at any attempt just to stop this Stalker force from dealing any more damage. Pulling back up the ramp again will be dealing a bunch of warp gate damage. That first Phoenix was revealed down here. It was scouting through iNcontrol's base, so he's able to see everything that's going on right now. That observer is coming out now. We'll be able to cause even more havoc with that Blink being able to look up into higher positions, so iNcontrol will be able to continue blinking up into the base. Over here, though, at the front, we see a Void Ray out, as well as Phoenix consistently lifting up more and more Stalkers. iNcontrol constantly warping in at the front here. This could be a lot of damage already. This Void Ray will go down. There is 3 Phoenix at the front here, and warping in a Zealot. At the moment, we can see that he has a total of 3 gates. He's producing Void Rays out of this Stargate now, and iNcontrol does have this probe still up here, so he can throw down more pylons at the front of the base here, continuing to warp in these units, and he will be able to go up here, possibly destroy the cybernetics core, which would prevent any Stalker warp-ins, Stalkers or sentries for the gateway production, and maybe even delay air weapon attacks from CombatEX. And at this point, we will see this observer start to move up here, be able to get some scouting information from CombatEX, who does have a total of 4 gates at this point. 3 are done, 1 is continuing to warp in. This cybernetics core is almost done for, and there we go. That probe was killed off there. And more and more Stalkers here gunning down these Phoenix. A bunch of havoc being caused, and these 2 Void Rays will possibly be able to take a ton of damage from this. CombatEX warping down here at the bottom, has a Stalker and a Zealot, will be able to clean up this force. It looks like he still might have a bunch of trouble. There's not enough energy on the Phoenix to be able to lift up those Stalkers again. He will be able to pull those Stalkers out of the base, and that Stalker will go down. He might be able to save the other 2 Stalkers here. An Immortal being warped in, or put up here in the front at that Zelnaga tower, the robotics facility there. He does have 3 gates now, throwing down his 4th gate, and an expansion just being thrown down for CombatEX at this point, and CombatEX has not yet destroyed this proxy pylon, but does know it's there from pushing and poking down there earlier. If you guys did not notice a little earlier as well, iNcontrol did throw down a Nexus here, just to taunt him. And that's what he's talking about right there. Think that Nexus might have cost you. He did throw down a Nexus in this location, and did have to cancel it because CombatEX started pushing back out, and it would have been a huge waste of minerals to let that finish. Probably just a taunting thing, same thing as like a Manor Mule, but nonetheless did not work out well, and had to cancel that. Might have cost him a few minerals because he did cancel it, got his minerals back, but did miss out on some minerals that he had to spend to set that up. An observer now at the front here, being able to scout out CombatEX's entire army and essentially composition that he's going for. He has these Zealots and Stalkers, as well as these 2 Void Rays here, continuing to produce Void Rays out of the Stargate. And now we see the probe transfer here to the bottom of the base. We'll start mining down here, and we do see iNcontrol's forces starting to move out. He has not taken an expansion of his own yet. It's pretty late in the game, and he should at least have a base here, but at this point, iNcontrol has been making sure that all of his minerals have been going directly into building up this force. We do have these 2 proxy pylons here that were placed down and not yet scouted by CombatEX. He will be able to start moving in here. Those 2 force fields were thrown down. iNcontrol will pull back his force. We still see this probe up here, which will be able to throw down additional proxy pylons, possibly. This Dark Templar's up here, actually, now. We do see iNcontrol has these 2 Dark Templars. That robotics facility went down, which is going to cause a ton of havoc because now he won't be able to get an observer. There is no scouting possibilities unless if he is able to get up photon cannons. At the moment, he is attempting to throw down these forges. This Dark Templar will kill off that pylon there, and this is bad. At this point, CombatEX pulling forward all of his probes. I mean, there's nothing he can do. These forges, one has finished up, 2 more are finishing up, but he will have to throw down a photon cannon somewhere in his base to save his base. But at this point, it looks like CombatEX will just be going all in, leaving the probes here in the center of the map. Is probably just going to attempt to take out iNcontroL. The only problem is now he's able to continue warping in Dark Templars. They're able to sit down there on the bottom half of the ramp, and now iNcontroL is going to be able to block quite a few units from getting up to the top, causing a ton of damage. And no matter how much damage CombatEX is able to deal here, his ground force is in a lot of trouble due to these Dark Templars, and Stalkers will be able to take out the rest of the Air Force, pulling back his army now. And we do see 2 photon cannons going down, both of these Dark Templars focusing down the main base, and this expansion down here is also going to take a little bit of damage from a Dark Templar. It's going to be causing a bunch of havoc there, and at this point he says GG and leaves the game. So that's the game. Thank you very much for watching. Be sure to like, favorite the video if you enjoyed it a lot, and subscribe. Thank you very much for watching. I'll see you guys next time.